Carrie, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Here.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Here.
Susan Sarin,
Here.
Martin Quezada, and Jet White.
Here.
There being 5 members, there is a quorum.
Thank you, Carrie. I'd like to call the regular meeting of June 7th, 2022 to order. As a reminder, I'd like you to mute your microphones when others are speaking and unmute when it is your turn. This will help with background noise. I'd like to welcome everybody joining us on Facebook Live. If you are meeting, this meeting will be held virtually with no public in-person attendance. I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Herron. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Arenas, I think. Any discussion? Carrie, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Yes.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Sarin,
Yes.
Martin Quezada,
Yes.
and Jet White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. Next on our agenda is Superintendent and Governing Board current events. Sorry, I'm so used to having our 8th grade council here. I'm like, am I missing something? Oh, I hope they're enjoying their summer. Oh, it's so sad. Dr. Cruz, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, cabinet, and community. It is sad that our 8th graders aren't here. Hopefully they are studying and getting ready for high school. I'm sure that's what happens during the summer with 8th graders, right? So since we have last seen each other, as you know, school has officially ended, and I just want to thank our school site-based folks for just a job really well done. You know, at the end of the school year, the promotions were fantastic, and I want to thank the community for coming out again to help celebrate their students and all of that work. And we do want to wish all of our students the best as they continue their academic journey into high school and beyond, to our 8th graders. And we're so looking forward to this next group of 1st graders. They were absolutely awesome as kindergartners, and it was great to have them all back face to face. Today, I had the opportunity, along with a few members of the board, to watch the keynote for the Inspired Conference. You know, it was our hope that that would become a really high quality event where folks from Pendergast could see national presenters, they could learn from each other here in town, you know, and no cost, no travel, right? And super convenient. And I'm really impressed with the team from Ed Services for having made sure that that event is actually offered as a hybrid event so that people, if they need to participate remotely, they can. And so I also want to thank all of our hardworking teachers who are always looking to get better. And so they're investing as per usual. It's very Pendergast of them to work over the summer, you know, to make sure that they're at their very best for our students. We had a great leadership meeting last week that was facilitated by our Ed Services team. So all of our instructional leadership, as well as members of cabinet, were involved in all kinds of professional learning last week about the draft strategic plan, but also about some of the key instructional pieces that we need our principals, assistant principals, directors, coordinators, all those kinds of folks to be up to speed on so that we can have a really powerful and successful upcoming school year. So I appreciate all that forward thinking. And it's my privilege at the end of this week, the Arizona School Board Association invited me to give a presentation about inclusive decision-making and how to include stakeholders in different processes. And I just thought that was fantastic of them to reach out. So on Friday, I'll be driving up to Flagstaff and giving that presentation and coming back on down the hill. So it's kind of it's a relatively short time, but again, I really appreciated ASBA asking about that, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity. And thank goodness it's summer, sir, because that's the end of my report for now.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz. Mr. Arenas, good evening.
Good evening, President White, members of the board, cabinet members. No, I think the only report update I have, if you will, is the promotion ceremonies that I was able to attend. Really enjoyed each and every one of them. I do want a heartfelt apologies once again to Garden Lakes. I know that Carrie and the Pullmeyers and of course the administration, they go up and beyond to facilitate and provide us a nice platform and venue. And unfortunately, I don't like to cancel, especially when you're prepared to be at a site, i.e. a promotion ceremony. So Garden Lakes, please accept my apologies, and I do apologize, and I'll make it up in the near future. I'll get some power rings or you know, some goodies over there to the front office and to the admin and to those teachers who are there when we begin the school year. So that's all I have, President White.
Thank you. Ms. Ortega Rosales, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to thank all of our community and everybody that was involved in the promotions and making them such a great event for our eighth graders who were promoting. All our school principals, our administrators, the teachers. It was every one of the ones that I attended was so well organized, and although they were all different, which is good. I mean, every school has its own community. It really spoke to that community's needs. It spoke to what they wanted to have as a celebration. And so I want to thank those who were involved in allowing that to happen, because it's important for us to recognize that all our schools have their own culture and their own community that wants to celebrate in different ways. So thank you for those who invited me to their school. I had a ball. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega Rosales. Good evening, Ms. Sarin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank all the principals and the staff for all the promotions. I had gone to every school but Amber Leah. Either the kinder promotions or eighth grade or at some of the schools both. And like Hilda said, each school had its own flavor. They did, what the community wanted, and they were very special. And got a lot of good feedback from the community. They were so appreciative of all the staff and what was done this year, especially. It was a trying year for everybody. So they really were happy with how the school year turned out. So the promotions were great. Also went to the end of the year, the esports, the championship, and that was great. It was held at, you're going to have to tell me what, Camelback Ranch. So that was a great venue for the kids. That was really good. And went to the Inspired Conference this morning, great keynote speaker. And then I went to a makerspace session, and it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. And I want to thank the staff for putting on this, because I think it's great. The teachers were very enthused, and I think it's a great thing for the Pendergast district to hold, and then to see other districts coming in and joining in the session. So that is great. Thank you again for putting it on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Sarin. Senator Quesada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I just want to echo all of my colleagues. I also got to go to a few kindergarten and eighth grade promotion ceremonies. I think I was only able to get to Amber Leah, Garden Lakes, Sunset Ridge, and West Wind this year. But again, they were all unique and different in their own ways, but I think they all went really well. And so I was glad to be a part of those. I also got to go to the Superintendent's Council end of the year banquet, and I had forgotten about that one, but that was a great banquet, end of the year banquet. So thank you for doing that. It's great to see both our outgoing and our incoming Superintendent's Council members coming in. Aside from that, in the legislature right now, we just got a draft of a budget proposal that looks like it's going to start moving, and there are no real new K-12 investments in that proposal, other than a $100 million for special ed Group B weights increase. That's really the only increase that is in that proposal. I don't think that proposal is going to go very far. I don't think it has the support, but that's really the first one that's been released that we've seen so far. So I know we're going to meet tomorrow and kind of go over the rest of the details of that. But it's only $100 million for special ed Group B weight increases. They do eliminate the statewide equalization tax rate. So that's an interesting reduction of property tax collections by about 330 million, which the state would have to make up, for that. So that's concerning. And then they also got rid of the teacher experience index and the teacher compensation fund monies for districts. So some actual cuts. But what they did give is all total a 4.5% inflation increase. So I don't know if that's one for the other that they're giving out there. And then there is some money in there for additional assistance, both district and charter additional assistance, I think 30 million for each. And then some one-time money for building renewal. So that's what it looks like, kind of a real high level overview so far. But once I get more news, I'll share that with you all. But like I said before, I don't think this one's going to go very far. So still a long ways to go. And I think that's all I got, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Quesada. Yeah, I'd like to echo some of what's already been said. I had the opportunity to attend the superintendent's student council banquet as well. So sad to say goodbye to the 8th graders who are promoting on and bringing those leadership skills to high school with them, and also really happy to say hello to the incoming 8th graders and looking forward to a great year with them. So thank you to everybody who put that on. I know the Pullmeyers have a big part to play in that, in sponsorship with that, as well as Ms. Saren. So thank you, as well as the other sponsors, for your leadership with that and for helping our students. Also had the opportunity to go to the esports championship at Camelback Ranch. Posted the link to the Twitch also. So some of my friends in education that are kind of curious about what's going on were able to watch that from home, and we're very envious. So that's exciting to see what's going on there. And I know I had a chance to not only be in the bleachers, but up in the press box and kind of check out the view from where the students were playing, as well as from the seats. And it's really great. The winning team, which escapes me right now, is it Canyon Breeze that won, I think? Really had great communication when we were up in that press box, and really talking to each other about, I'm going this way with the ball. I'm going this way to play defense. I'm going to be the goalie. You're going to try to do this. And so, it's not just playing video games, right? We're going to play some esports and have just a great time. And it's really cool. There is more of a point behind that, right? And also it being sanctioned AIA to get to high school. I know that some students in the high school district where I teach have gotten some scholarship money from that. So again, continuing to grow opportunities for our students, even though it sounds like just some fun. There is a point behind it, I promise, I think anyway. Also had an opportunity to attend some promotions, both kinder and 8th grade. It's interesting to see some of that same energy, some of that same nervous energy, whether you're 5 years old or 14 years old and everybody's looking at you and you're not sure what's going to happen next in life. So it's great to see. I did shed a tear or two, of course, as I'm to do. And it's great to see sitting, up front, to see parents and to see the look on the parents' faces, especially with our kinder friends who sing great songs and do funny dances, and just to see that excitement and pride shine through the bleachers, and being proud of what they've accomplished and what they will accomplish. Also had the opportunity to go to the Inspired Conference this morning and see the keynote speaker and kind of lurk around a little bit. So thank you to Ed Services for that. My anniversary is tomorrow, and so we'll be doing some celebrating with that. So I'll be unable to attend the rest of the days, but I'm sure that they will be great experiences, and I'm really happy that it is a hybrid model so that folks can attend both online and in person. And then Senator Quesada already touched on it, but today is the 149th day of session. The school year is 180 instructional days, so take that how you will with what we're able to accomplish in 180 days and maybe what the legislature will accomplish hopefully sooner. I think the record's 173, so we'll see how close they get, but I know with a $5 billion surplus, I'm super excited to see how that money will be allocated, hopefully in beneficial ways for our students and for our community. All right. Carrie, are there any citizens' comments?
No, there are none.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through R?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Saren. Any discussion? Carrie, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Yes.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Zarin,
Yes.
Martin Cazada,
Yes.
and Joe White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. Dr. Cruz, are there any new hires or other announcements you'd like to make?
Good evening, Mr. President, esteemed board members, members of cabinet, and the community. We are so excited to welcome a number of new teammates to the fold. We've got some certified rehires. Daniel Holmes is going to be at Desert Horizon School. Evilia Lopez is going to be a teacher at Desert Mirage School. We've got some changes of assignments. Ronald Rubio is going to be an instructional assistant. Well, he was an instructional assistant. Now he's going to be working in the Human Resources Department. Pam Gosnell is going to be at Desert Horizon. Martina Beltran is going to be an instructional assistant at Sunset Ridge. And Erica Aguirre Chico is going to be at Desert Mirage School as an instructional assistant. We've got a new hire support staff hiring here. Paulina Marquez Ruiz, who's going to be an instructional assistant at Rio Vista. And then we've got some certified new hires. We've got Jessica Aguilar is going to be a psychologist. Joey Dalzal is going to be at Sonoran Sky. Carly Hill is going to be at Canyon Breeze. Kathy Ibarra is going to be at Via de Paz. Sierra Johnson is going to be at Sunset Ridge. Matthew Tolman is going to be at Sunset Ridge, and so is Chantel Weimer. Carrie Zavaleta is going to be at Rio Vista School. And then we've got some new leadership folks that are coming on board. We want to welcome Alicia Steiger to the assistant principalship at Canyon Breeze Elementary School. She has previously been an instructional coach and has held some other roles in education beyond that. So we're excited to have her expertise on board with our leadership team. Daniel Romero is going to be our next director of maintenance and operations, and he has a long background in school maintenance and operations, and we're excited to welcome him to the team. And Sherry Guerra is going to be the next principal at Desert Horizon School. She also has a great deal of experience in school administration and has some really excellent experience in special education and special programming, which we think is going to make her just a great fit at Desert Horizon. So we want to welcome all of those new employees. We believe in you, and we're so grateful to have you be a part of our team. Welcome to Pendergast.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz. Welcome to Pendergast. Next on our agenda is presentation information only ed services, and our attorneys have revised regulation JICARB student dress as presented. The agenda item is for information only. Regulations don't need board approval, and it'll be updated if there are no questions or concerns from the board. Questions or concerns? Great. All right. So moving on. Tonight we have Mr. Ray Pohlmeyer, Mr. Ramiro Alvarez to give us an update on our marketing and communications. Dr. Cruz, would you like to introduce them?
Good evening, Mr. President, esteemed board members, members of cabinet, and our community. I'm excited about this presentation this evening. You know, Mr. Pohlmeyer and Mr. Alvarez have been working so hard this year to, do some things a little bit differently and to use some data. And they have just been probably the two most patient people in the room besides the 5 of you. And so I really appreciate their hard work and hustle this year. And they're going to share with you some of the information, some of the strategies they've been using, and just give us an overall update about their work. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Pohlmeyer and Mr. Alvarez.
Hey, good evening, Mr. President, esteemed board members, Dr. Cruz, cabinet, and members of the audience. I'm Ramiro Alvarez. I'm the Communications and Outreach Coordinator. And with me is my colleague, Mr. Ray Pohlmeyer, Director of Interactive Design. Today, we'll be providing a marketing and communications presentation. And we want to thank you so much for the opportunity for having us here today. We're excited to share some updates and plans that we have for the upcoming school year. I'd like to share a short summary of what to expect from today's marketing communications presentation. As you may know, here at Pendergast, we are committed to providing accurate, timely, relevant information to our staff, parents, students, and communities. We want to ensure that all stakeholders are informed about the major announcements, initiatives, policy changes, student and staff achievements, and activities of our district. The purpose of our presentation today is not only to recap how our year went, but also to present a clear and concise framework for how we intend to engage and communicate with our stakeholders moving forward. So I'd like to start by stating that we've made some changes to our marketing and communications plan. And one of them is in our vision. Our new marketing and communications vision is to re-engage, recruit, and retain. In order to craft an effective communications and marketing plan, we pulled from a variety of data points. We identified 3 areas of focus, which include re-engaging the community as to Pendergast's impact on growth and success, recruiting new stakeholders, and retaining our stakeholders. And this leads me to our target audiences. We have broken down our target audiences into 2 categories. Our first category is our internal stakeholders, which can consist of district employees, staff, non-instructional employees, and contractors who work with our schools. You guys, our school board, students, families, etc. Our second category is our list of external stakeholders. And this can consist of non-enrolled families, community leaders, business owners, elected officials, media members, and many, many others. Our goals, the first goal of our marketing and communications plan is 1, re-engaging our community. And we plan to do so by increasing positive earned media with captivating news stories this school year. And we want to survey stakeholders at each school to better understand their communication needs. Third, we want to create social media campaigns, sharing and celebrating district accomplishments. We want to do a better job of that, and we want to continue that. Also, we will redesign and introduce our new district website, and we'll be sharing a little more about this later in our presentation. We also intend on recruiting new students, families, and staff. We plan on launching monthly paid social media campaigns, and we actually already started this this summer in May. So we started in May. It's going to go all throughout June and July as well. The point of this is to target families within our community. We will establish and promote key events at each campus to engage new families. And we plan to expand community partnerships with organizations serving students and families in our community. We also will increase earned positive media for the district and campuses, generating increased awareness. Lastly, we intend on retaining students, families, and staff. We will develop data tracking systems to evaluate and strengthen the effectiveness of our district customer service plan. We want to deepen effective social media practices at each campus through the use of organic content, increasing pride and loyalty among families. We will also establish district-wide branding standards to increase visual recognition and confidence in Pendergast's presence within our community. And lastly, we want to strengthen recognition programs, improving relevance and meaning. Another change that you might notice within our marketing and communications plan is within our cycle, our marketing and communications cycle. Previously, our department used a 10-step cycle, which we found to be a little complex, if we're honest. It was a little long and it wasn't very useful. So we wanted to refine this cycle, come up with some steps, practical steps that we can really use in every initiative and campaign that we implement. So after a lot of refining, after a lot of thinking through, we came up with the 6 steps that you see here on the screen. These are the 6 steps that we'll be taking in every marketing campaign that we develop here at Pendergast moving forward. So I mentioned earlier that in order to craft an effective marketing communications plan, we pulled from a variety of data points. Research shows that a strong marketing campaign or initiative requires a well-structured planning framework. Therefore, we identified 4 methods to include in our planning framework. And these methods include research, analysis, communication, and evaluation. So these are the 4 major methods of our planning framework. One of the changes that you'll notice as we move forward or as we provide marketing and communication updates, is that you'll hear us make reference to specific marketing campaigns. And we're being very, very intentional about that, both Ray and myself. All of the marketing work that we'll be doing moving forward will be assigned to very specific campaigns. So each campaign will have a set of goals, we'll have a set of objectives, strategies, budgets, key messages, things like that. And as you're aware, our district follows the portrait of a graduate that you see here on the screen. Our community has identified these 6 pillars as the graduate's top needs for success. And we're proud to say that our marketing and communications department also utilizes the portrait of a graduate as part of its framework for creating and developing marketing strategies and campaigns. One of the things that we've done well here at Pendergast for quite some time now is increasing awareness and partnerships. For the past years, we've prioritized this, and we plan on continuing to do this. We truly believe that by working together with our community partners and our stakeholders, we can accomplish so much, all in the best interest of our students. Increasing awareness and partnerships is something that we have continued throughout the 2021-22 school year, and we plan on doing so moving forward. Another important area that we will focus on this upcoming school year is in our community outreach. We will continue to let our community know about all the great things that are happening at our schools, while also listening to their feedback about how they perceive our school practices or our district's programs and practices. And we truly do value our stakeholders' input, and we want to provide them the opportunity to, first of all, engage them and also to be involved in their children's education. So we will continue to do that. We will also continue to host our monthly parent lunch and learns, which are held virtually and in person. And we always, as you all know, we always include topics and resources that help parents support their children's education. And at these events, parents have the opportunity to network with other parents and also talk about common interests and issues. Our parent lunches are informal and held both in English and Spanish, and we really want to continue that. We want to provide that opportunity also to our Spanish-speaking parents. And along the lines of that, we will also be planning to record our sessions, to record our parent lunch and learns, so that we can post them at a later date, and so that those parents who work during the day also have the opportunity to watch on their own time. So we want to create these type of opportunities. We want to create more options for our parents to be involved in their children's education. That also means that we will have events during the evenings and sometimes during the weekends. So we really want to focus on providing options for our parents to be involved. We truly believe that a lot of them want to be involved in their children's education. They just don't have the time because of work and other matters. So we will continue also along the lines of parent involvement and lunch and learns. We will continue to have our special community events such as kindergarten readiness and our holiday toy drive. We understand that our communities appreciate these events and also appreciate when we're attentive and care for the needs that exist among many members of our communities. So at this moment, I'm going to ask Mr. Pohlmeyer to also present some of the slides.
Thank you, Ramiro. So you don't get to have all the fun. Good evening, Mr. President, esteemed board members. As you know, in education, we face many, many challenges. When marketing the Pendergast district, some of the challenges we face is, of course, health and wellness of our staff, especially now more than ever, creating and growing our community connections through various events, and of course, our declining enrollment. Our goal is to continue increasing awareness through various avenues, and that includes our brand advocates. We just went out and we were shooting a video for promotional videos for our students or for our schools. But what we also did is while we took that time, we also interviewed students, staff members, parents, and things like that. So we have this whole bank of brand advocates that we can now go into. School Messenger has been a great tool. District and school websites, as we talked about, we got a new website coming up and we're pretty excited about that. Facebook Live events, we just did a Facebook Live for the conference today, and we noticed that our numbers just go up an incredible amount whenever we do Facebook Live. Class Dojo, highlight videos of the schools, as we said, positive media stories, social media, district newsletters and the annual report, school newsletters, events, awards, presentations to community groups, and of course our marquees are a big, huge tool.
I apologize. Mr. President, members of the board, we had several positive media stories take place this school year. And as you can see, one of them here on the screen, this is Mr. Tulinao, aka Mr. T from Amberlea Elementary School. He was announced as one of the top 5 candidates under consideration for the 2022 Arizona Teacher of the Year Award. And similar to this, we had many of our teachers, many of our principals and staff receive awards and recognitions throughout the year. So we will continue to highlight these types of stories, and we'll continue to highlight our amazing employees this upcoming school year. Here on the screen, you'll also see a summary of some of the stories, some of the positive stories that took place this year. This is just a summary. There were several others that we have to show, but we had great things happen during the 2021-22 school year. So we're excited for that, and we will continue to highlight those types of positive stories on our social media, on our website, and other platforms as well. Some of the marketing investments that we've made this school year, we continued our membership with the Glendale Chamber. The Glendale Chamber has allowed us to expand our list of community partners. We've been able to increase awareness of our district. We've also expanded our community email list, and this has allowed us to reach more people. We've expanded our list of zip codes. We really want to reach specific zip codes, so we've expanded that, and we're excited for that for this upcoming school year. Also, we mentioned earlier that we've had a partnership this year happen with Camelback Ranch. If you recall, we had our esports championship tournament take place at Camelback Ranch. They've been great partners with us. So these are the types of partnerships that we've been able to have this year. We've been able to work with Camelback Ranch, promoting our district at some of their games. We attended 3 of their spring training games, and we were able to recruit families, new families, recruit staff, and just raise awareness of our district. And along the lines with that, we've done some work with Cox Media, with Cox Communications. We've done some display ads with them. Here's a sample that you can see here on your screen. And don't mind the Shape Magazine cut out there. One of my colleagues, I won't mention their names, but they were one day reading Shape Magazine, trying to get in shape. And this is, by the way, online, so it's not the printed version. But one of my colleagues was reading Shape Magazine when all of a sudden this ad popped up on their screen, and it was one of our ads. So this is a real snip that Mr. Pohlmeyer put out. So this is the type of advertisement that we've been doing, and it's really exciting. It's been really exciting to see this come up on many of your guys' browsing history. Whenever you're browsing online, whenever you're on social media, these things will come up. We are targeting families within certain zip codes that we provided to Cox Media. We will also be targeting families with children 0 to 14 years old. So that's really the target audience that we've provided to them. But these are the samples that you see here. We also do some retargeting, which means that if you don't click on the first, second, or third time this ad pops up, it's going to continue to be popping up. So that's the really cool thing that it sounds a little creepy, but it's really cool for us to be able to retarget them until they finally click on our landing
I don't know what
page.
sounds creepy about that, but whatever.
So yeah. So we're super excited about this work. And along the lines with that, we've partnered with Cox Media, and we created a 30-second commercial. I know some of you have already seen it, but we're going to go ahead and show you this commercial here in just a second.
Don't look at me for help.
Hey parents of K through 8 students, you're looking for the right school and the choice is clear. Pendergast District is paving new pathways, offering dual language programs, computer science, fine arts, esports, and more. We prepare students to compete in a globally connected society. Plus, your kids can stay active with our free after-school sports and clubs. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it at Pendergast, with schools in Phoenix, Avondale, and Glendale. Enroll today.
Hola, padres de estudiantes de kinder a octavo grado. El distrito Pendergast está abriendo nuevos caminos ofreciendo programas de lenguaje dual, ciencias de computación, bellas artes, esports y más. Preparamos a los alumnos para competir en una sociedad globalmente conectada. Además, sus hijos pueden mantenerse activos con nuestros deportes y clubes extraescolares gratuitos. Lo que usted busque lo encontrará en Pendergast, con escuelas en Phoenix, Avondale y Glendale. Inscríbase hoy.
Nice job, man. We are also, as I said, we're creating promotional videos for each one of our schools. So we have Amber Leah that's complete. We will be doing these in both English and Spanish, but you might recognize the narration, the voice of the narrator. So we'll go ahead and play that one for you right now.
At Amber Leah Elementary School, we believe that hard work and dedication are the key ingredients to the recipe of success. We believe in instilling a positive and strong worth ethic for all students because they too are active stakeholders in their educational journey. Students that are equipped with the necessary skills for perseverance are capable of accomplishing anything that they put their mind to. Students who attend Amber Leah Elementary School will leave feeling inspired, motivated, and encouraged to reach their highest potential.
And we're very excited about these videos because they really do reflect what's going on in our campuses. One thing that Dr. Cruz was very adamant about is make sure that it captures the magic that's going on at each one of our campuses, not just a generic, but just what's happening in each one of those schools. Another thing we're doing is differentiated communication, and that includes our staff too, through our Be in the Know. We really use that once a week to really communicate with our staff, and that way it doesn't, messages don't get lost with different emails, because we know we all get barraged by emails, and so we keep everything in one place for our staff. We're also doing monthly messages with Dr. Cruz, and that's become very popular, especially with our YouTube channel. So we air it on our YouTube channel and also on our district website and things like that too. But that really is something that's really taken off as well. Now we get to talk about social media. So we've been working with a consultant, and we really want to shake up our social media quite a bit. Through Facebook Live, we did the World of Dance Facebook Live, and I'll tell you what, it increased our numbers on Facebook by over 100 people. And that really shows the power of Facebook Live and even just social media in general, and being able to show their parents what's going on. And that, like Ramiro said, they can't get to everything, but if we can bring it to them, or they can watch it on their own time, then that makes it even that much more powerful. And then it really includes other people and brings our community together. So some of the numbers, this is just within a year. So we started out with Facebook at 2,728, and I'll be honest, that took us about 8 to 10 years to get those kind of numbers, which, social media has been growing and things like that. But as of this year, it was 3,228. So it grew by 500 people over this last year. And that's really significant. And we did a survey at the beginning of the year where we asked people, well, what social media do you use? And again, it was a small sample of people that answered our survey. But what it showed us is most of our community is actually favors Facebook over some of the other things that, you know, at least who we were trying to target, which was moms, dads with young children and things like that. So Facebook, this really does show how they use social media. Facebook being first, YouTube being second, Instagram being third, and then Twitter was actually fourth. So I want to show you about, we've been talking about this new webpage that we're talking about. We're very excited because I'll tell you what, it used to be the first the webpage we have now, our award-winning webpage, is now 6 to 7 years old. It won an award 7 years ago. They don't make web pages like that anymore. It's a classic. But it was when we built it, we were only building for one size. Now we have multiple devices. Everybody's got a different size device and things like that. So the typical internet user now spends over 7 hours or almost 7 hours using internet across all of our devices. So that means when they go home, maybe they're jumping on their laptop, maybe they're staying on their phone. I know when Ramiro and I were talking about this, we always seem to have our phone with us no matter where we're going, whether it's eating dinner or something like that, we just have it with us. And that's where they get these kind of numbers. And it's a fascinating number. So as I was saying, we could have a sampling of different types of screens. You have your cell phones, you've got your cell phone, you've got iPads, you've got computer screens, you've got laptops, all different kinds of sizes of laptops. Our students have all kinds of different equipment now that they didn't have 5 years ago when we made our last website. So now they're accessing it by building this new website that's going to be very accessible. We'll be able to reach a lot more people because our goal really is to reach everyone that we can, whether it's ADA compliant, that sort of thing. Those are the types of things that we're looking at when we're building our new website. So again, we're talking about one thing that we're looking at is sustainability. I mean, our district is pretty large and we've got not just the district website, but we also have the school websites. We also have the Family Resource Center website. So we wanted to make sure that we build something that's very sustainable. So the platform that we chose was called Blackboard, and some of you may have heard of it. But basically what they do is they give you the ability to build a beautiful web page with, you know, in-house, and then us make it very accessible to people, to make it ADA compliant at every step and turn, which by law we have to have. And it's something that I'll tell you, it really is going to make a huge difference when we start using our websites and things like that, because it really makes it more inclusive for everyone, especially a lot of our employees. I have one employee in particular that has always been my soundboard. Is it compliant? Even our old website, she would let me know if her screen reader wouldn't read something. So for example, we tried to do something different with the Be in the Know, and she was the first phone call I got saying my reader won't read that. It was so we went right back to doing just web pages, and it really was making it very more dynamic. Accessibility, as I said, is so very important now more than ever. With everybody on devices, we want to make sure that we include as many people as possible. And also performance. Our website now, it performs pretty well, but that's because it's old. The new website will be load much faster. I think it was, let me see if it's the next slide or if I took that slide out. I did. But what almost 60% of people that were surveyed said that performance was a very big deal to them. They want to be on whatever device they want to be on, and they want to get the information that they get quickly and accurately. If they're not, they just click away. So that's something that we want to be very, very, very conscious of. So in summation, this is just a little quote that we came across that we thought was very powerful. Did you just change the thing on me? Oh, Ramiro. He's like, I'm so done with this presentation. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the things, I'm getting all sentimental, but a lot of the things that we work on really is our dreams come true, seeing the the impact that our marketing is having on the district. So with that, we want to thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Mr.
Ms. Aaron.
President, Romero and Ray, fantastic. You have really been working. I really look forward to the new website. You talked about getting more news stories, out there. Is it hard for, the news to cover some of our stories? I know it has to be a slow day for them to, how do we get it out there more or make it more accessible that we are on, all the good things happening in the district are on the news, and that we can get it out? How do we do that?
Mr. President and Member Saren, that's a very, very good question. This year has been very challenging to get a lot of stories out, if I'm honest. A lot of the stories that we were sharing, we had a lot of great things that happened this school year, and we were sharing a lot of those stories with media outlets. And unfortunately, a lot of the stories that they wanted to cover surrounded a lot of COVID incidents and that type of thing. And that really made it challenging this year. It is my first year, so that's the first thing that I've noticed. And a lot of them were very honest with us. A lot of the media outlets did mention that because of COVID, they were very interested in engaging the audience with that type of content. So that made it very challenging for us. But it'll be interesting to see now that things are getting a little more normal. It'll be interesting to see how we go about it. But I do expect this upcoming school year to be a lot better in that respect.
Yeah, and another way we're thinking about doing it as well is when we're talking about social media, we're talking about doing some paid advertisement, things like that. So some of those stories we can go beyond just our community or just those that are following Facebook. So hopefully that'll be another avenue that we can use as well. We have Constant Contact, which we can directly email our community. So if there's a story that we really want to make sure we get out there as something that we want to promote, we can also do it that way and get and be a little bit more direct towards that stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And I like that we're reaching out beyond the Pendergast community, letting everyone know how great we are.
And please don't let Ramiro get away with this. This is my first year thing. He's been hustling like you would, like a veteran, I'll tell you. So,
one of the things that I would like to add, Member Saren, is that yes, it has been challenging this year, which has forced us to kind of resort to other stuff like Ray said, boosting and paid advertisement, because for a very long time, not just here at Pendergast, but in general, public education, we've advertised a lot, or we've depended a lot on media outlets. And we've realized that with things like this, such as a crisis or COVID situation, where it takes a lot of the attention away from us, we still have to continue promoting our district. We still have to do our best to advertise it. So this is the reason why we've also had to resort to a lot of different new things. But it was great because it allowed us to pilot a lot of different things, such as boosting and paid advertisement. So now it's expanded our mindset. So we're looking forward to next school year.
That's great. And again, thank you for all your hard work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
President, well, just a couple things. One is that, there's an ancient proverb, and I want to add to your sentimental feeling, Mr. Omar, because they say that the proverb is that if you go by yourself, you could go faster, but together you could go farther. So what I've seen this last year or so is this relationship that you both have built. Not that it was not there, and that's not what I'm saying, but just to be able to have this robust ability to move forward, whether it's the toy drive, which of course is very near and dear to me and my family. I just see this this is very complex. However, you guys have made it very easy in many ways. Not saying your work is easy because it's tough. And in honor of Netta, as you know, Netta served this position. She did a wonderful job. And I just think that both of you are taking it to the next level. So I really appreciate that. You know, the 3 R's, right? Reading, arithmetic, and writing. Now it's re-engage, see if I can remember, recruit and retain. So hey, write that one down. Another t-shirt,
Right on. Hey.
another t-shirt. But you know, on another note, Mr. Alvarez, on another note, I have seen you, sir, for what it's worth. And again, I'll have to say this, I'm only one of 5. So I've seen you grow, my friend. I've just seen you grow professionally, and certainly that translates to your personal, you know, values and just this relationship. So thank you. So.
Senator Casado.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, great job, Ray and Ramiro. Like, obviously, you guys are just doing great work. So I applaud you, like everyone else has. Ramiro, in particularly, I've been, and I think I've told you this, but I've been really impressed with the translation services that we're providing at our lunch and learns. I think that is, I mean, one, just the skill that you have in doing that is really incredible. So I wish I had half just being able to speak Spanish, but much less being able to translate that quickly and that accurately. But so I think that's great. I guess my question is, aside from the translating services, what type of Spanish language outreach are we doing? Are we going out to Spanish language media? Because I know, like in my experience, that media, those media outlets often have a different perspective than the English language media, and they're more willing to get into a deeper story or a different type of story than would the English media. And are we having like any uniquely Spanish language content that isn't just a translation of the English content?
Mr. President, Senator Casada, I'm so glad you asked that question, because that is one of the parts that we forgot to mention in our presentation, partly because we had so much content to add on there. But some of the work that we're currently already doing, we actually started in May. We started doing some radio work with Radio La Onda, and they are a Spanish radio network, and they're helping us. One, we have a 30-second commercial with them, a radio commercial that's currently airing, and it's constantly airing throughout the day. So that's reaching our Spanish speaking parents. And in addition to that, we're also with Radio La Onda, we are also doing interviews with each of our schools. So each week at 10:30 a.m., we have a different school that we're highlighting. And Mirna Pineda is the interviewer. She's done a great job of interviewing us. She asked difficult questions, but also very good questions that I really think has allowed us to connect with our families. And that was our main goal. Our main goal was not necessary to put our name out there. That's all great, but we really wanted to build relationships with our Spanish-speaking parents and our Spanish-speaking community. That was our main goal. Obviously, all the other stuff comes with it, getting our name out there, promoting our district, but we really wanted to build that relationship with our Spanish-speaking community, because we realized that was an area of focus for us, and we realized we had not been doing a great job with that. And with us, as you may know, we're 75% Hispanic and Spanish-speaking parents. So we wanted to do a better job of that. So that's one of the ways that we've been addressing that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Taylor-Salas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to echo what my colleagues have said, and they said it well. The shout out to you is definitely well deserved for both of you. A couple of things that I would like to just refocus on. And number one, it's re-engage, recruit, and retain. We got to remember that, right? And so as we're thinking through that, my mind goes to the fact that, again, being inclusive in our media and our communications is so important. We're a very diverse community, and we should be in touch with all of our community. We need to listen to our stakeholders. And I heard that loud and clear in the presentations that you just gave us through surveys, through them attending our events and asking them what works for you, what doesn't, and having that flexibility to be able to access all their events through a hybrid approach, to be able to see it later. Even our yours truly, our board member, being a teacher, he can't, say to the students, I'll see you later. I'll be back in an hour. I've got to go do a lunch and learn, and so, but I know he goes back because he tells us he goes back after school or wherever he has that opportunity to listen to it. And it's important. And so us as stakeholders, even as board members, you're doing that for us. There's times that I can't attend something, but I can go back. I can go back and listen to it. And it's really important. So you're definitely keeping the stakeholders engaged. I think the other thing to consider is that when you are reaching out to the media that our community is comfortable with, it sends out a very strong message. I would tell you, I don't need it to be in Spanish. I'm bilingual, right? But when I hear that commercial in Spanish, it brings this pride to me, the sense of inclusivity and a sense of gratitude that those individuals that I know who are monolingual are going to hear our message. And so that to me is very powerful. It's not about just because we want those who are monolingual to hear this, but that we're being celebratory and grateful for the community that we serve that's diverse. And then the other thing, bottom line is, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, our communication, our access to our community was pretty much via paper and in person if they showed up, right? And we are now at the reality, and we have been for the last, I would say, 5-10 years, that we need to reach out to our communities that are outside of our boundaries, because the reality is there's competition. When did we ever think 20 years ago that we would be marketing, using that word marketing? Well, we are, and we have to. And so you've embraced all of that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Tigres-Salas. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I have a couple of comments and then a couple of questions. I mentioned at I think at the last board meeting that I was on a website. And so that targeting worked for me. I was on the ABC 15 and AZ Family website for my targeting, but it's out there. Then I got it on English on one and Spanish on the other. So I don't know if that's a stalker move or planned or what, but I did not click on the English. And so maybe it hit me with the Spanish just to see, as you mentioned, of kind of cyber stalking me into engaging. So it is working. And it's there. So, and it's memorable. It was surprising. It was shocking. I text Dr. Cruz actually a screenshot. Oh my goodness, you guys are following me. As Hilda mentioned, I just appreciate, thinking about the flexibility of the meetings of whether it's later at night or even on the weekends, because even later at night, for us, it's a race to bedtime. As soon as we pick up, our kids from daycare, it's, getting home and getting dinner on and getting to bath time and then getting to bed. And even as a board member, I want to be engaged, right? I want to attend those meetings. I want to be a part of that. And sometimes it's just not possible. But I know, again, as I've mentioned in the past, like having that on Facebook or having it, they had a dual language meeting through Zoom. So even being able to throw that on while I'm doing dishes or while the girls are splashing around in the bath is super, super helpful. So thank you for that. And then just a couple of questions, I guess, I know we talked about organic content, which I really like versus more of the static of a graphic or something like that, which is also helpful. But just, are there hindrances to that organic content in terms of like photo releases, age, and then just like who is doing that? Like, is that another duty as assigned? And is there, I guess for our staff and for our admin, like, is there time during the day to capture that organic content for social media?
Oh, that's a great question. No, Mr. President, a lot of the things that you see on Facebook, especially that organic, the great pictures of children and things like that, a lot of that comes from our staff sending them to us. Our principals coming, they're in a classroom, they see something great, they snap some pictures, and they've really come to start sending it to us. I mean, of course, we're out there too, and we try to do that as much as possible, but it's impossible to cover 12 schools, not the way our principals do, and not the way they know their students. They know who can be photographed, who can't be photographed, and that is huge. So with that, that's where a lot of that organic comes from. We try to look at the quality and things like that, but at the end of the day, our kids are just doing amazing things, and our schools are just doing amazing things. And it's so great when they share it with us, and we get really excited to be able to share it with our community.
Thank you. And then Mr. Pullmeyer, you touched on this a little bit with like the researching and sending out the survey for social media, but is that going to be a yearly thing or an ongoing thing? I know I don't want to turn this into like a study of what I use for social media or a focus group just for me as somebody, but maybe it will, I don't know. But, I find myself using Facebook less and less and some other social media less and less. I'm not on TikTok, but I know a lot of folks are. I feel like I'm an older millennial, so some of my younger friends do that. But I guess just like, as there's ebbs and flows to social media, like what is the next TikTok or what is the next Facebook? Like, are we researching that?
Mr. President, we were just talking, Dr. Cruz and I were just talking about that today. Is TikTok going to be the next thing that we do? Do we need to start wrapping our head around that? Do we have the content that will fit, like Snapchat or something like that? And a lot of that comes with us understanding that platform and then being able to determine. And so that's what we're just getting ready to start researching. We're really doing, I think we're making big strides in what we're currently using. YouTube, I would like to be able to expand that a little bit more. But yeah, we're really looking at the different platforms and really trying to educate ourselves and to keep up with some of the kids, because I tell you what, they know how to use Snapchat and TikTok and stuff like that. So, when I think of TikTok, I'm thinking, oh no, Ramiro and I are going to have to learn how to dance. And whereas, I can dance, but, because I read Shape magazine and they had some, Ramiro might be struggle a little bit, but yeah, we really are starting to research those things. And Dr. Cruz honestly just today posed that question, like what's going to be our next step? Where do we want to jump into next? So that was a fantastic question.
Mr. President, I think that, that's kind of the patience factor that I was referencing at the start of this presentation. One of my moral obligations as superintendent is to think of weird stuff and then ask the grownups if they can do that weird stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to. So, right, we've been trying to figure out, again, what's the need for our end users, right? And what content is really valuable to parents right now? Like what would be useful, what would, be supportive of your family and the things that, that you're trying to do. So yeah, like maybe not so useful to see, the six of us in dance moves, or maybe it is, right? Maybe there is some engagement value in that, right? So that's what we're trying to, really wrap our heads around, is like, what's useful, to bring people into the institution and understand that the institution is really here to support you and lift your family up and provides content in all arenas. That's a value add, to your life, right? So it's an interesting challenge, but I will say, that I think in terms of data, really job well done, increasing our Facebook following, 20%. In a given year, I think is, a fantastic data point about the work that's happening. So I think, we're well on the right path, and just making sure that what we're doing makes sense, is going to be the thing moving forward, right?
Thank you. All right,
Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I just have one question that just popped in my mind. As I was I just turned myself off. Sorry. As I was viewing the Amberlia commercial, it was beautiful, but I didn't see the upcoming Mariachi Academy.
And that's,
And and so I thought, well, it's not till next year. And so I know it costs money to redo commercials, but to me, that's huge. That academy is going to really bring a lot of re-engagement, recruit, and retain. For those of you who do follow the mariachi music, it has in the last couple of years grown tremendously, in particular here in this state. But most importantly, the amount of mariachis that are, number one, youth mariachis, but also women mariachis. And in some cases, all women member mariachis. And so the excitement is there, the interest is there. And so putting that in our website as people are cruising around, or tying it into the commercials we have in our different media, may be something to consider.
oh, Member Ortega Rosales, that is one thing we've talked about when we're making these videos, and that's the power of us doing them in-house, is that we can add to them, we can
Good.
change them anytime. And what's nice is, it's not an extra cost. It's not even really a lot of extra time. It's a few button clicks. So when that does kick off, that's one thing we've talked about, all the schools, as they add programs, as they change programs and things like that, to be able to update at any time that we want to. And again, that's why the power of doing it in-house, because that's something, it just wasn't happening at the campus at the time that we were filming. So as soon as they get that going, that is something that we will add to those videos.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
should
Yeah,
be really
that's-
great.
That's important. And again, we're a feeder school.
Yeah.
I mean, an elementary school feeding into high schools, and high schools are growing in their mariachi programs. And so parents strategically, I know I would have, if that would have been offered, 20 years ago, I would have been looking, okay, what elementary school do I want my children to go, that in their high school, choices, they're going to continue to have that opportunity.
Yeah, Member Ortega Rosales, our daughter went from actually pre through 8th grade in our district. And I'll tell you what, the things that are going on now, I wish I could bring her back and have her go through some of the programs that we are offering now, because they're absolutely extraordinary.
I'm not going to take away from what our kids went through, your
No, I
kids
know,
and my
but-
kids, obviously. And you're right. I'm like, oh my,
Yeah.
but the quality we had back then is one of the reasons we moved into this neighborhood.
Mhm.
So, we just need to continue to grow that way, right?
Yeah.
And shine.
All right, and then I guess my last question, and again, I don't mean to hijack this, but I guess I am. Just you're talking about, or your point about like the performance, and maybe this goes to the website or just in general. As you've worked with the consultant, I don't know if this has come up. Like, do districts have their own apps? I'm just thinking about.
I didn't say anything.
I'm just. Oh, okay.
Oh.
This is. Are we mind melding? Is this what happened?
Mr. President, did we
this
just get
is-
set up?
No, this is a real. I'll even give you the story that it's not a setup. As many folks in this room know, Lauren is very planning oriented and list oriented and very linear thinking, and so she's very concerned about what's for lunch. And so sometimes we have our calendar up, and sometimes we don't. And so if I have to look it up on my phone, I have to open up Chrome, and then I have to type in the website, then I have to scroll down and find where the lunch is, and then I have to click on English, and then I have to click on the school. And so, just for lunch, right? So whether it's, an app that's just a shortcut to our website, or an app that launches the shortcuts of school lunch menu, whatever else that might be on there, some of the frequently used links. So I guess, I don't know, sorry, back to my actual question. And so that is the reason this is not a setup. But like, do districts have them? Does it make sense to have one? Or should I just be quiet and move on to the next agenda item?
No. You got this one? Or you
Yeah. Mr. President, that was actually a very good question. And we laugh about it because literally just today, Dr. Cruz and I and Mr. Polmeyer, we were having that conversation. And it had nothing to do with the fact that we were presenting today, but it is actually something that we thought about. And actually, when we made the decision to go with Blackboard, that was also part of the reason Blackboard does offer the ability to provide apps, to create apps for our families. And that's actually a very good thing that you mentioned. We would have loved to have been able to do it around the same time as our website, but obviously our department is a little small. We wouldn't have been able to launch both these together. But it is in the works. It is something we're talking about. And actually, just today, I was mentioning to Dr. Cruz that that might be a summer project for us for the following school year. We might be able to pull it off sooner than that, but we do want to, take time to plan it, do it right. There are a lot of school districts that have apps, but to be honest, they're not done well and they're not very sustainable. So we want to make sure to do our research. If it's not Blackboard, if there's another vendor that does a better job with that. I actually just met last week with another vendor that does apps. So it is a relevant topic. So I'm glad you brought it up. So it is in the works, and I'm thinking maybe for the summer. So thank you.
Great. No, thank you. If you need a beta tester, let me know.
Perfect. Will do.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Great. Thank you again for your presentation.
Oh, thank you all very much.
All right. Next on our agenda is Dr. Cruz, member of the Strategic Plan Committee, to give an update and request approval of the strategic plan. Dr. Cruz.
Good evening, Mr. President, esteemed board members, members of the cabinet and community. Good evening. It is really, I'm so excited. It's an honor and a privilege to get to bring our next strategic plan recommendation to the board this evening. I would like to forewarn our esteemed board members that just for the sake of you all getting home sometime tonight before midnight, I've asked that the team will not do the entirety of the formal greeting to the board each time we transition to a new speaker. And you will see that there are quite a few transitions. But please rest assured that we hold all of you in great esteem, and we are grateful to all of you and acknowledge your contributions, certainly. As we get started with the strategic plan, to the members of the board, I do want to point out to you this one pager that you should have. This is actually the content that we are recommending that you all approve this evening, and I will get ready for my screen share. So you'll see that this document in particular has some of the key content, but we're not quite done with the workaround in terms of branding. And I do want to make sure that we're clear on that. That part of the work that we're really hoping to do is create one whole brand story and have that support our marketing. And so what you all will see is a redesign both of this one pager and also our portrait of a graduate to make sure that we're truly being reflective of Pendergast and our innovation and our inclusiveness. And so we're going to ask the team to get after that. But one of the things that we really felt like we've got to prioritize is the completion of the website. We think that's really important. It's important to our community. And so we will get there with this document. But what we are recommending this evening is that you all approve our mission, vision, and values that were created, through the community. And we're going to talk about that process tonight. And also our 3 priority areas. You'll see the 3 priority areas and again, the 5-year goals. Later in the presentation, we've got some folks who are going to share some examples of 1-year goals. And we want to show those short-term goals and also the measurement strategies, that we're looking to use. But we want to make sure that the teams are able to be flexible. So we're trying to take a Kaizen, a short-term continuous improvement, look at planning. And so if something isn't working or if we're doing something that's just flat dumb, we want folks to stop immediately and not wait until the board, agenda can take that conversation and we've got time for it. So just know that that's the idea here, is that we need our board to give us that leadership guidance to make sure that we're pointed in the right direction and that the community is in fact supportive of this work. And you all have seen this slide before. You know that first we came up with a plan, and as you know, plans are great until you get punched in the face. And in this case, this year, COVID has a mean right hook, and so we had intended for the strategic plan for this document to actually be ready for you all sooner, but we did take that time out, and we did need to slow down our process just because we had so many different things going on, and we really needed to account for the health and well-being of the staff and the community at large. So obviously we had a plan to engage with our stakeholders. We have an incredible core team. They're going to introduce themselves and talk about the work. And then, of course, we seek to, understand, where the district is, both in student achievement and some of the other, metrics that we use to figure out the health and well-being of the system. And then we design and implement some different ideas. So you're gonna hear us talk about that process. You'll see us reference back to this slide, just the process slide, as we're going through the presentation this evening. And again, we were relying on this kind of a framework. Strategic planning isn't something that's done very often, and certainly it's not done by lots of people, right? It's kind of a very specific task to do. I kind of liken it to, the first day of school. Even if you've been teaching for 10 years, you've only had 10 first days of school, and that's not very many. And so, when we are doing strategic planning, because the plans last for so long, there's a long time frame. There's 5 years between this, and so it's not something that we do very often. And I wanted to give something concrete, to the team as they were working, this process. And so you can see, mission, vision, values is really what starts it all off, and it answers these key questions that you can see in that second column. Why do we exist? Where do we want to go? And what do we believe in? And then you saw those priorities. And then we've got, again, the 5-year goal, for the plan. And with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn this over to our next strategic plan core team member, Mr. Scarlupa. He is a fantastic, we've got amazing teachers. So I have to, step out of the presentation for a moment. Today at our conference, we had board members, we had site leadership, we had business partners, we had teacher leaders. And man, that is just like Pendergast to have, all those people come together, to celebrate teacher learning and leadership. And, Doug was at that event as well. And probably all of these people actually that are here at the presentation this evening were probably involved in that event. And so I can't really say enough about the quality of my colleagues, their dedication to the community and to this process, and frankly, to all of your leadership, I think is just outstanding. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Doug, and he is going to talk more about process.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Doug Skarlupka. I'm a science teacher at Canyon Breeze Elementary. The strategic planning process, it gives us a collaborative direction and purpose to follow. Without the process, it's unclear what we're trying to achieve as a district. We need to have a diverse group of people who are part of the core team and represent all that our district is. We need to have access to expert advisors who can provide specific information as needed, and a group of people who collect data working directly with the stakeholders that report back to the core team. In the simplest terms, the strategic plan process is a method that organizations use to develop plans to achieve overall long-term goals. 5 steps are followed in the strategic planning. First, we determine our strategic position in educating our students, prioritize our objectives. Then we develop a strategic plan. We go on to executing and managing the plan, and finally, review and revise the plan. The opportunity to be part of the strategic planning team has been energizing as an educator. I had the opportunity to collaborate with many different people from our district. A fellow colleague asked me if the strategic plan was something we should be focusing on right now as a district. And my answer was yes. Without the plan, how would we know what to focus on at every level of education, from families and community leaders to district employees and students? The strategic plan enabled us, all of us, to know why we are here, where we want to go, and how we're going to get there as a community. It gives all of us a sense of ownership. Now, we will hear from Lori.
Good evening, Mr. President. Sorry, I was having trouble with my microphone. My name is Lori Gabhart, and I'm a second grade teacher at Via de Paz. And I would like to take a moment to acknowledge all of the members of the core team, the expert advisors, and all the strategic plan participants. Without their willingness to give of their time, their experience, and their expertise, we wouldn't have this plan for you to consider. It's been a real privilege to be a part of this team, and I want to thank each and everyone for their time in this. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ramiro.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. One of the main parts of our planning process was understanding. Our goal was to understand where we are as a district and identify areas of improvement and focus. So in order to understand what our stakeholders need and expect to see out of our district, we took time to listen to them. We met with our students, with parents, staff, and community members, and we listened to their needs. We allowed them the opportunity to provide feedback about how they perceive our school district's programs, practices, climate, culture, etc. And this is what really took the most time, but it is truly what allowed us to come up with a strategic plan that addressed all of our stakeholders' needs. So during the fall semester, our team began taking input from the community. We held multiple parent meetings for our schools in Phoenix and Avondale and Glendale. We gathered information from parents, students, community members, and as well as you guys, the governing board. We continued meeting with our community partners in the spring semester. We gathered input via surveys. We had focus group interviews with many students and community members. And we had additional check-ins with you guys, the governing board. We were able to gather and receive great feedback from 1,200 plus students. So it was great to connect with our students and to hear from them. Also during the fall semester, we sought stakeholder input from our Pendergast staff. We provided presentations to our employees. We visited different school sites and checked in with all of our department leaders. Just like we did with our community, we allowed our staff to voice their concerns, to provide feedback about our current practices, and ask how we could improve. We continue this kind of work during the spring semester as well, and continue to have these types of conversations throughout the year with our employees. We continue providing additional presentations at school sites, continued gathering input from district staff, and we had additional check-ins with site and department leaders to better understand how we can improve moving forward. In addition to our parent meetings and school site visits, we presented to our parents at 2 of our parent lunch and learn events, one which was virtual and the other was in person. This setting allowed us to have deeper conversations and provided our parents the perfect opportunity to just further express their concerns and explain what they desire Pendergast to be. In addition to the parent lunch and learns, we presented to our community partners at one of the community partners lunch and learns. We received great feedback from them as well. We have great partners that were willing to share what they love about our district and also how we can improve moving forward. They provided ideas on how we can improve our partnerships and how they can continue to support our students' education. Overall, we enjoyed the opportunities to connect with all of our stakeholders and receive wonderful feedback that will ultimately help us improve our district and continue to have a positive impact in our Pendergast students' lives. So at this moment, we'll have Dr. Brown continue to share more about our strategic planning process.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the governing board. Something that has remained consistent throughout this entire process is our portrait of the graduate. This is one of those things that we've seen as a North Star throughout the entire time since its inception, but also throughout this entire strategic planning process, through our conversations with teachers, with students, with our community, and with our partners, families. What came up over and over again in a variety of ways was the need to have the transferable skills identified through this portrait of a graduate. And so really our conversations and our research essentially validated that we were headed in the right direction and that these are the right skills to focus on. Also throughout the strategic planning process, we know that it's essential that we then, once we have planned, looked at the planning and understanding where we are, we have to design, we have to do something with this information now. And so once we've collected all that information, the next step was to test possible solutions and establish some of those priorities, really synthesize the information that we have available. And so what you'll hear next from Mr. Pohlmeyer is a little bit of what came out of that synthesis.
Mr. President, members of the board, based on the work and the collaboration, this group would like to recommend the following mission, vision, and values to you. We're pretty excited about them. Just wanted to give you time to kind of look over them a little bit. Now I'd like to turn it over to Johnny Martinez, who is going to talk about the 3 priority areas.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. I'm Johnny Martinez, the district's McKinney-Bento liaison and foster care point of contact. And as we've moved through this process, we've developed 3 priority areas that work in conjunction with our mission, vision, and values, which will provide scope and focus to achieve our 5-year goals. Our 3 priority areas that we have identified are as follows: student learning and wellness, operational excellence, and community engagement. Our focus as it relates to student learning and wellness is to work to engage all students in meaningful learning experiences that create learners that will meet the expectations of our portrait of a graduate. And as it pertains to our operational excellence, we will continue to strive to provide world-class service and support that enables both student learning and talent retention. And finally, in terms of community engagement, the goal is to continue to be actively engaged with our stakeholders in processes and programs that support our organization in student learning and wellness, as well as operational excellence and staff retention. And here I'll turn it over to Ms. Fimbres.
Good evening, President White and esteemed board members. As we've worked through the strategic planning process, we moved through the planning and understanding stages. We now examine the design and implement stages. Design being the test possible solutions and establish priorities, and implement, launch prioritized initiatives and build accountability systems. Our next steps are now for our teams to work on the goals and strategies. Research the strategies to implement and create the department implementation plans, which could include benchmarks. And with that, I will now turn it over to Ms. Ingleson.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Paige Ingleson, and I am an instructional coach at Copper King Elementary, and most recently, a middle school social studies teacher on my campus as well. As our team worked to develop instructional goals as part of the strategic plan, we focused on the end product as much as we could. The portrait of a graduate requires students to develop skills of decision-making, trust, communication, and conflict management. These skills impact both academics and social-emotional well-being. We agreed that these skills can be developed through a greater emphasis on collaborative learning in the classroom. And based on this, our group developed a multi-year student learning and wellness goals with an emphasis on this type of collaborative learning for students. Collaborative learning encourages students to work together in small groups to find solutions to problems, which ultimately builds a deeper understanding of the content. And this emphasis will require teachers to create engaging learning activities that incorporate a level of complexity that requires students to work together to achieve common goals. Collaborative learning benefits include positive effects on the why of learning. It meets the learning styles of more learners, which makes our classrooms more inclusive. It develops the skills needed for work and higher education, and it builds engagement within the learning environment. These are the what and the why of collaborative learning, but we also developed a plan on how to get there. Ms. Kathy Johnson will now address our how.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Kathy Johnson, and I am a 7th grade ELA teacher at Garden Lakes Elementary. As we met together, we looked at ways that we could better support teachers and students as they engage in meaningful learning experiences. And as Ms. Ingleson just spoke so eloquently about, one of those was through collaboration. We felt that it was really important to provide real opportunities for teachers to collaborate as peers to strengthen their teaching, but then also allowing students to collaborate as they learn. It's also important for teachers to use board adopted materials with fidelity, and that to have the reassurance to try it. We as teachers often use the Costco method of teaching. You know, when we go to Costco, we often go for just one or two things, and we end up with a whole basket full of stuff we didn't know we needed. As we teach, often we are so concerned about backfilling, missing understanding. We're worried about having the spark and the fun. We see neat opportunities to try new things. And the anchor standard that we were really going in to teach often gets overlooked, kind of pushed to the side. So making sure that we as teachers drill down and teach the specific emphasized standard each lesson is important also to focus on. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Paige and Kathy, both for being part of this work, but also for sharing our approach to student learning and wellness, because what you were both describing for those watching at home and for our governing board is essentially our next stop on our pathway to deeper learning. And so we recognize that if we want that deeper learning and we want students to really internalize and transfer skills, then that means that our leadership team has to be first in line to make sure that they fully understand it, and that this will require work at all levels, from our instructional coaches to our classroom teachers. But that work does begin with the leaders and making sure that we have a shared understanding of deeper learning and the strategies that will take our students and their learning to the next level. And speaking of next level, I'll turn it over to Joanne to talk about how we're going to have operational excellence as well.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Operational excellence goals include all of the operational departments, including finance and our human resource departments. The departments and teams will provide world-class customer service and support that will enable student learning and wellness and retain talent. The operational, finance, and human resources teams, as we know, we are here to support our students. And so it is essential in the work that we do to better what occurs in the instructional side of things. And so with that, I will now turn it over to Ms. Tessie.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Under operational excellence and as its own standing goal is human resources. This is just an example of a human resource goal. Increase staff retention to maximize student learning and customer service response. We would do this with a few strategies. Honor our staff by recognizing their contributions, invest in opportunities to support staff, teachers, and administrators to grow professionally, promote staff wellness through engagement in wellness programming. And to that end, part of the measurements would be to continue some of the celebrations that you're already aware of, like our Believer Awards and end of the year celebration, Teacher of the Year, but to seek to add more, and as was in a previous presentation, some really relevant celebrations and honoring the staff that we have. Retention is very important. And we believe these things would lead to that. We want to invest in more opportunities to provide professional development to support staff, for instance, including some support staff in things like PBIS training and even student management. Hopefully increasing our pipeline for more new teachers. But also that time that relevant and also previously mentioned collaboration for teachers for that time to team. We also want to promote staff wellness through engagement in wellness programming. And we had added the EAP program this year, but we also want to expand the wellness programs that are offered to us and get some wellness champions out there to get more people involved in some exercise, some yoga, some things that to do a little bit more actual wellness. Later in years to come, we'll get back to those recruitment and probably compensation type goals. But I thought this was a good time to just mention that those goals have some difficulties right now for budget reasons. And also just to mention that in the latest Arizona School Personnel Administrators January 2022 report, you know, this past year we still had 31% of teacher positions unfilled across the state. That meant there was a long-term sub in those. They were completely unfilled. Another 47% were filled with people under alternative certification methods, which is a good pipeline, but that's a lot. We're still looking at a huge shortage, and now the impact to our support staff is there too, with minimum wage going up and other factors. So we have a long ways to go, but we're ready for that, and we'll include those goals at a later date. And now I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Williams to give us another example of an operational goal.
Thank you, Ms. Tussey. Good evening, President White and esteemed board members. One of our biggest goals, or our main goal in the IT department, is to ensure that our network is up and running for all our users. We also want to ensure that we have the ability to accommodate changes in technology for education. The strategy that we're going to use is to attempt to reduce network interruptions and also reduce our help desk calls. Biggest part of the strategy for us is to replace all of our aging network equipment. The phone system district-wide, actually, or switching, routing, firewall, top to bottom, basically a whole makeover of the data center. Things are needed because, like I said, some of these pieces of equipment are almost 20 years old in some cases. Also, we will continue to measure the network uptime, and as we measure the network uptime, we will constantly check to make sure we're saving money and reducing costs. But again, eliminating equipment that is not as cost effective too.
Okay, so moving on to our community engagement goal. We know that our stakeholders will be actively engaged in processes and programs that support operational excellence, student learning and wellness, as well as staff retention. As we saw in an earlier presentation, community engagement is essential. Marketing is essential. And so with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Polmeyer so that he can cover a goal that is covered under our community engagement area.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, our goal, as we've said in our last presentation, is to increase social media engagement through consistent messaging that's inclusive to our community demographics, and to create a strong collaborative environment between the district and our families by providing more opportunities to attend district events and things like that. Our measurement strategies is to continue to monitor social media analytics, which I've become very addicted to. We will also develop a family engagement survey to measure community engagement And we also want to increase attendance at community events, as we said, for the 2022-23 school year. And we'll do that by measuring attendance and making sure that that's going up as well.
And with that, Mr. President, esteemed board members, members of cabinet and the community, I want to thank all the folks who took the time, to be involved in this process, and also for those of you who are willing to, come and join in on this presentation. And we appreciate always your support and guidance and leadership. We started by having those conversations about, what the community wanted, and so we're really hopeful that we have captured what the community's interests were. And what our colleagues across the system, thought about our work, and we're excited about next steps. And with that, we'll take any questions. I believe we had agreed in cabinet that Mrs. Polmeyer would actually be answering any questions that members of the board had this evening. Although I'm not sure we achieved consensus on that matter.
All right, board member, any comments or questions for Ms. Polmeyer?
I just like to see that was an excellent presentation. Thank you so much. And I want to thank the core team and the advisors. That was a lot of hard work putting all the information you gathered together and then setting up the goals, the priority areas, and revamping our mission, vision, and values. It's great. I really like it. And I think our goals are definitely attainable. And I think this is just so well-rounded, and impacts our students, our community, our staff. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, President White, just
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you. Just to thank you to all.
You're on mute.
Thank you. It's a lot of work and a lot of effort, a lot of synergy. Thank you very much. Ms. Johnson, it's good to see you. Mr. Martinez, it's good to see you. Ms. Galbert, thank you so much. And all the community. Mr. Williams, it's been a while. Israel, how you doing, sir? Just want to give a shout out to everybody. So thank you all.
Mr. Tegrasales.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo my colleagues' comments. It is definitely not an easy task. A strategic plan is not something that you sit for one day, do a little bit of dialogue and say, okay, this is what it is. Obviously, through this presentation, I hope that all of us have come to conclusion that it's a lot of work, but definitely if it's done right, will provide that map for our district to be at the levels that we aspire to. So thank you for all of your work. It's an incredible team. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to everybody for all your work on this. I'll just echo what everybody else said, but I really appreciate that this effort really establishes the foundation of everything else that we're going to continue to build here in this district, and those foundations are really important. So I appreciate that. This isn't just a going through the motions type of an effort. I can tell by everyone who's involved in this and all the work that you're doing that you're not just going through the motions, that you really are truly building a foundation for this district and for great things that are going to come from it. And I've already seen how we stay loyal to some of these foundational elements of our district, and I appreciate that a lot in the way that we operate. So just thank you for doing this as well. Good job.
I'll continue the echoing of my fellow board members, and to put there are the lens that I see things through earlier today is as a parent, right, with marketing stuff that we've talked about, and now I get to put on the teacher lens, right? And so I feel like at the beginning of each school year, and Dr. Cruz and I have talked about this last week. At the beginning of each school year, we sit down with our PLC and we're handed this paper and it's like, all right, make this SMART goal and like turn it in and see what happens. There is accountability to this, as Senator Quesada mentioned, for this, but it just reminds me of this, right? So if we're going to ask our teachers to be aligned, right? If we're going to ask our teachers to use the curriculum, I heard somebody mention that of the fidelity piece. If we're going to ask our teachers to begin with the end in mind, then we should too, right? And so it's not just about we should be in a school. It's not just about all of our students should be learning, which they should, and our schools should, whether or not you believe in letter grades. But to actually have that plan. And so again, I just want to state my thanks for this and the hard work that has gone into this, and excited to see where this takes us over the next 4.5, 5 years or so. I guess a question that I do have, and I know, and if I'm out of order, yell at me, but I know that we're going to be voting here or have a motion potentially to approve this. And I know it's the big picture that we're looking at as far as mission, vision, values, some of those priority areas, in order to give flexibility, clearly, right? And like you mentioned before, Dr. Cruz, at the beginning of this, so that we don't have to approve every little change or every little hiccup that comes up. But I guess what are your thoughts for frequency of updates on within the year, and then within whatever 3 years, within 5 years, and what that might look like as far as reporting back to us?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So what you'll see is that our board agenda items will actually reference back to specific strategic plan priority areas and goals. So you'll see us moving forward to align the system to the work. That's what we want to, really make sure that we get after. So it will start there. You'll hear about some of the different projects that we're working towards actually in your week in review. So, as we move forward, with different aspects of the work, you'll actually be reading about those. And I know that, those will happen intermittently as we make progress, that I consider to be visible progress. But in addition to that, at a minimum annually, we're going to come back with all the different pieces, the quantitative, measurement strategies that we think right now are going to work, right? And show all of you and, really our leadership team and our faculty and staff, where we made progress. I really believe that given how dynamic this system is, that we are going to make progress. And, part of retaining our staff is celebrating those W's. And I think that there are going to be a lot of wins, quite frankly, with this. And so we'll actually be sharing, progress made, not only with you all that are, obviously stewards and leaders in the community, but in an ongoing way, with the broader community. That's really important. And our annual report, that we'll send out to, or we'll certainly make available on our website to, anyone that wants to see it, will also be reflective then of the strategic plan and the progress that we've made on it. So the idea is really, kind of concentric circles of sharing, much in the same way we built the plan. We feel like, we need to make sure that stakeholders get to see our process in the plan. And, certainly, you all are a significant part of that stakeholder group. And, really with the idea being, I'm hopeful that, if a department head or, in Ms. Tussey's unique case, in the human resources team, should they see something that really isn't making sense, my hope is that they stop doing that and they switch. And so, we will let you know again, through that week in review or other things, if we decide that we need to pivot to a different strategy. And it's my hope that we do. I think if we see folks that are pivoting to a different strategy, or if we see folks that are changing, the measurement aspect of this, then that means that there are folks that are thinking and they're being considerate and they want to make progress and they want to put more W's on the board. And I'm all in on that. So I really am hopeful, that we see those changes over time.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Great. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your presentation. And again, thank you for your hard work on this. Looking forward to the updates. Can I have a motion to approve the strategic plan as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Aaron. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Senator Quesada. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Yes.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Zarin,
Yes.
Martine Cazada,
Yes.
and Jed White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, next on our agenda, on May 3rd, the agenda item 7A was tabled to give district team members some time to gather more information on our live streaming options for future governing board meetings. Tonight, Dr. Cruz and Ms. Fimbres will present some more information as requested.
Good evening, Mr. President, esteemed board members, members of cabinet and the community. I'm actually going to turn this over to Ms. Fimbres and Mr. Williams. I know that you all had needed some additional logistics information regarding, broadcasting. And so I'm going to turn it over to our experts to give you some information. And then we'll ask for you all to give us some, direction moving forward about the specific location of board meetings. Ms. Fimbres?
Thank you, Dr. Cruz. President White, esteemed board members. Yes, Mr. Williams has been actively communicating with the vendors that have submitted proposals. There is one specifically that he has been focusing on with respect to the equipment that will have to be installed in the governing boardroom in order to move forward with a project such as this. But at the same time, he's also been having conversations about the mobility of that and what type of options would we have if we are not necessarily in the governing boardroom, but we are actually at another location, different facility, and what the vendor offers with respect to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Williams and allow him to provide some detailed information as to what we have learned thus far. So Mr. Williams, if you'll go ahead and share the information that you have.
Thank you, John. Mr. President and esteemed members of the board, cabinet. There's not a lot of information that I can give you right now. We've got the standard quotes from some vendors. To set up the boardroom in its current state, we need to put about $10,000 worth of equipment in there, including cameras, some multiplexers so that we can show the presentations and continue the Zoom, I'm sorry, not the Zoom, but the Facebook live streaming. As far as the mobile board meetings are concerned, that's a whole different level of design. It's a little bit more than twice the amount of money to set up a mobile board meeting. So that one we're kind of going back to the drawing board. Because we started looking at having a system that will that has the capability of being in the boardroom and then taking that same equipment and moving it to the schools or wherever we're broadcasting from. And then we've also looked at just doing 2 separate systems. Right now, it's just not cost effective, of course, to do 2 separate systems from a vendor point of view. However, we've also looked at doing some different things like using the Promethean boards and the camera at the remote sites, which would save quite a bit of money. We're not sure what the desired effect would be, or if we're going to be looking at trying to capture some of the events that you guys see at the schools. But I mean, it's kind of an open slate right now. A lot of different directions that we're trying to go in, but I'm definitely getting it narrowed down to what's going to be more cost effective and useful for everyone to utilize.
Mr. Williams, what's the time frame again for installation if we were to go ahead and move forward with something that would just be focused on the boardroom and the dais?
So with the supply chain issues, all the vendors are basically in the same boat. They're roughly 3 months out right now. So the sooner we can get something into the system and get in line, the sooner we can get it done. Some of the equipment is in stock right now. However, most of the vendors are booked through the summer, as they usually are with education. That's our biggest thing right now, is we definitely need to get in line at some point so that we can get it.
So, Mr. President, obviously we can move forward with the installation if the board, does want to make sure that our meetings are, streamable, from the actual governing boardroom. And then, what we need for you all to decide is if you want us to continue using this format until we're able to move into, the other space and do the broadcast. Truly, it's genuinely the board's purview where you wish to meet. I will say that based on our board study sessions, I think it's easier if we are in this bigger space so that we don't get that, echoing and feedback. So I think if we were going to continue with this particular, mode of board meetings until that installation can be complete, I would recommend us continue to stay in the bigger space. But again, absolutely your purview, and however and wherever, I'll see you there.
Thank you. So I guess first I'll open it up for questions or comments or thoughts, and then we can move on to the fun stuff. Mr. Rosales. Excuse me, sorry.
Mr. President.
You're welcome.
It's late, isn't it? And I'm not sure, maybe I didn't understand this correctly, and I don't know who can answer this, but in my mind, the time frame could be, depending again on when we can get in line and when, the equipment could get here, we could be here the whole semester, potentially, right? Who can answer that?
President White, Member Ortega Rosales. So at this point in time, if we have a decision and we move forward now, we are looking at 3 months out. So that would actually basically put us at September, based upon the information that Ezra is receiving from the vendor. So obviously, the earlier the decision, the earlier we get in line, as he mentioned.
Okay.
I don't know, Mr. Williams, is there any more information that you have on that?
No, not at this time.
But that's based on whatever the current supply chain is, right?
Correct.
Okay. So my only concern, and I know we can change our minds if we need to, keeping in mind the interests of those who want to participate in our meetings. My assumption being that it's going to be in a safe environment. So given that, if we assume that it's a safe environment and we are able to bring the public, welcome the public into our meetings, this is not conducive for that, right? So I think there's a couple of decisions we need to make from that perspective. Once we're in the board room, then obviously with the installation of the equipment and hopefully, no issues around, COVID, that we are able to allow our public to come back. To me, that's important for those who want to participate in person, for them to be able to do that. And this room would not be conducive. So if it's going to be September, I think we're good. Over the summer, people are busy and probably don't have a lot of opportunity. So maybe even give it 30 days that, there's some delay. That in my mind, at least by October, we should have something in place. And if we don't, then we need to go to some other options.
Yeah, I think I would, I don't think I would agree with that. I do agree with that. And I think what we have, I would have to look it up on the calendar, but I think 2 meetings in August and 2 meetings in September really is what we're looking at, right? And then probably fall break, I would imagine either right before fall break or right after fall break, to be ready to go. So if you write off the summer, as we're doing more administrative stuff than anything else, probably I would imagine, than more school stuff. You're looking at 4, maybe 5 meetings during the school year like this, and then getting into, I don't want to use the word normal, but back to having a sense of normalcy, perhaps.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
And I agree with that too. I agree with staying here until the installation can be done. We have it now where, if a member of the community wants to have a citizen's comment, they're able to. And I know they do post things on Facebook, as we're streaming, and we can get that information. It's not the best, but, I think it'll do, until we can get the installation done. I agree with just having that installation in the boardroom, not making it mobile, because I don't see with the, 4 or 5 times we go out to the other schools, that would be, a cost that I wouldn't want to see added, to it. So, but I do agree with installing it in the boardroom, so we can still stream and meet the public's need there too. Because I think COVID has taught us one thing: we can do things, we can reach more community members, by streaming, our meetings, and I think that has helped too. So I agree, stay here until, we can get it installed.
Sorry,
No,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I guess from what I'm hearing, it sounds like we're all in agreement that this $10,000 amount is worth it, and that we should move forward. So I guess that was my first question is, and maybe this is to the experts, Mr. Williams, Ms. Fimbres, but is that $10,000 amount, is that what we expected? Is it high? Is it low? I'm assuming that that's a normal cost for something like that, but I don't know. I'm no expert in that. And so I guess I just wanted to put that $10,000 amount in perspective. Either way, I think we're going to agree that this is something we should move forward with. So I mean, I would agree with Ms. Sarin that I would only feel comfortable moving forward with the boardroom setup. I think doubling that price for mobile doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But with that said, I do know, I think it's like quarterly we meet at a site. So it's 4 times a year. I think that's a discussion we should have as well, because I do want to get out to sites. I think that's very important, and I think it's a must that we get out to sites. But I would be troubled if we are every 3 months we are skipping getting that meeting out to the people. So I mean, maybe we have to restructure that in a way, like maybe make those special meetings when we go out to visit sites or something like that. Just something for us to think about, so that we can communicate to the public and say, we're not going to have a whole regular meeting at a site, but we're going to have a special meeting. Maybe it's on a different Tuesday, and then we just have a shorter meeting. I don't know. I'm adding more meetings for us here, but I just I just think that I would hate to just skip a whole meeting of this stream, but I don't want to spend that money on it either. So just something that's in my mind bouncing around right now. But aside from that, I guess I just want to ask that question about that $10,000 amount.
President White, Senator Casada, to answer your initial question, actually, in all reality, we had a window of where we expected the cost to come in. And I will say that Ezra has done a great job with respect to working with the vendor and getting an amount that would be cost effective. And that basically, in essence, is the 10,000. There were other numbers that came in that were a bit higher. So I do think that the work that he has done in researching this, he has found something that is going to work, that is cost effective for the district, and is a bit less than what other options have been. So Mr. Williams, if you want to expand on that.
Thank you, Joanne. President White, Senator Casada. So again, the quotes came in pretty close to each other. And also the equipment that each vendor was proposing to install was very similar. So it was mainly a matter of number of hours that they're going to put in. Again, some of the equipment was different. And their labor rates and things of that nature. So the cost, like I said, was right in the ballpark of what we were thinking it was going to be. And it also gives us all the ability to continue the live streams. Plus, there's a little area in there for growth. So if we want to add another camera, if we need to add additional microphones, things of that nature is also built into the proposal.
Mr. President, Senator Quesada, I want to offer that in my quest to try and get grown-ups to do weird stuff, Ray and Ramiro did a great job getting the world of dance out there, you know, on Facebook Live. They got some duct tape and paper clips together this morning and, you know, had our keynote speaker, you know, on Facebook Live. So, you know, we will figure something out in terms of keeping the meetings going while we're at the school sites. And, you know, we were able, for instance, to broadcast from West Wind. We were able to, you know, broadcast from Amberlea. So I'm not sure if there will be some combination in terms of, you know, the strategy that they use for World of Dance to, you know, broadcast that school performance aspect, which we know is super special. Although honestly, I'm hoping that's the thing that brings folks out to the meeting. I would love for constituents to actually come out and get to see you all in 3D and see how tall you are and all that good stuff. So I don't know, I like the idea of constituents being able to see the meetings in person. And I think that, you know, every weird thing we've thought of so far, the team has been like, sure, yeah, I can do that. So I think they'll figure something out. And, you know, I would hate to reduce your hourly rate by having more board meetings. So that concerns me too.
I'll tell you 0 divided by 0 is still 0. No, and to kind of jump in, and I'm wedged between Senator Quesada and Dr. Cruz, is that was kind of my thinking too. And I know Senator Quesada kind of cracked the door here with kind of talking about, you know, other broadcast options when we're not together. And so, you know, for Dr. Cruz's comment about this morning, you know, the other ways to broadcast, I just didn't know if just creating a problem out of nothing, as I'm good at doing, of like, you know, does this become reusable for us and for Ray and Ramiro to use, right? Or is that an appropriate sharing of resources, right? Is this ours for the governing board, and you folks can use your own budget for really cool equipment to record us for the 4 or 5 times out of the year? But I feel like doubling that cost for some maybes is probably not very responsible.
Yeah, President White, the only statement I was going to make, I think Senator Quesada is right on. We're probably on agreement where we're going with this. I just want to be, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. I just don't want to get comfortable with not having people in person. And I think that we need to consider that as we move forward. You know, we've talked about technology, we've talked about the new pathway where we're at, and I think that certainly hasn't been over communicated. I'm not going to say that, but we just need to I need to not be comfortable with being comfortable with the fact that we haven't had people in person, because I think that takes away from the community what we're here for.
Thank you. Other comments?
That wasn't supposed to get everybody upset.
No.
Jesus Christ, I just trying to make a
Not
statement.
at all. Not at all. All right. So is there a motion to move forward with the, sorry, I'm on the wrong spot. I apologize. Again, Anchorman, just put anything in front of me. Is there a motion to move forward with future board meetings based on the information received this evening? If we need a more clarified motion, Carrie made a face, so we need a more clarified motion.
Would you like?
So yeah, if you have one, go for it. Yes, please.
Okay, and yeah, Carrie, help me out here if we need it. But I'm gonna make a motion that we move forward with the live streaming setup in the amount of $10,000 for our boardroom only, with no mobile setup at this time, and that we continue to meet here in the PLC until that setup is complete. How's that?
I'll second that.
Sure, please.
Based on the comments I made earlier. I think you're muted. Sorry.
I apologize. I just, based on the comments that I made earlier, I'd like to have a friendly amendment considered in the motion. And that's that if for some reason, and we don't know, that the equipment doesn't show up until November, that in one of our future meetings, as we find this information, that we consider getting back to the boardroom. And then we can come back here if we need to for installation. But I believe it was Senator Quesada who mentioned that, maybe we set a deadline, if you may, that after fall break, we should be in the boardroom. Thank you.
Yeah, do I need to accept
Well,
that amendment?
I was just going to ask a clarifying of, I think that, I don't know if that needs to be an amendment, like I take your point and I agree. I don't know if that needs to be an amendment versus we could make that motion at any time, right? I guess it just depends on how official you want it. Like if you want to say, hey, fall break, we can do fall break, but I think that as Mr. Williams or Ms. Fimbres or somebody comes back to us in August or September and you're like, hey, by the way, supply chain or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know if we need to make an amendment or if we need to just revisit.
Yeah, I can. And before I restate that, because I want to incorporate, I'll definitely incorporate that.
Or we could do two motions, whatever you want.
Let's keep it as simple as possible, right?
Yes.
I'll definitely incorporate that. But quick question for Ms. Fimbres and Mr. Williams. Do we need to be a little bit more flexible with that $10,000 amount? Like, you know what I mean? So in case it's 10,001.
Well, President White, Senator Quesada, you would approve the installation, not the specific dollar amount. We'll let our purchasing team do their procurement process.
Okay.
Goodness only knows how much widgets cost today versus yesterday.
Right.
So if you all approve the process, that way you've got the background information about how much it should be approximately. We will not make it into something that, Home and Garden Television would want to come to a special on. Like we can all agree on that. We'll do the what we need, but not anything more.
Okay, it's not going to be on Cribs.
It's not going to be on Cribs, exactly.
Okay.
I was going to reference Cribs, but I didn't know.
All right. So, Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we move forward with the upgrade for mobile streaming purposes in the boardroom only, and that we schedule out that we will continue to meet here in the PLC until the setup is complete, and we will have a review no later than fall break in case it isn't finished before then.
Covers everything. Good.
That's perfect.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Sir. Any further discussion? Great. Carrie, roll call, please.
So sorry, I was getting everything down. Jose Arenas,
Yeah. Yes.
Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Sarin,
Yes.
Martin Quezada,
Yes.
and Jet White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. All right. Find my spot. All right. Our next item, it's been requested to change the time for the June 14th regular meeting, which is next week, from 6 p.m. to 5 p.m. I have a motion to approve this time change.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Sarin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Yes.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Sarin,
Yes.
Martin Quezada,
Yes.
and Jet White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. And then our last item here came from a couple meetings ago, last meeting maybe. It's been requested to change the location of the May 16th, 2023 board meeting to the Pendergast Community Center. Have a motion to approve this location change.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yep. Why do we need to change this?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, me too.
So we had
a year from now.
yeah. So we had somebody heard a presentation about our Pendergast Community Center and the great things that they're doing over there, and asked to go see it sometime.
Yeah, sometime before the year. I was talking next week, maybe. But
Dr. Cruz, I should have let you take this one. Dr. Cruz.
Just kidding.
President White, Mr. Arenas. Mr. Arenas, I have this swiper badge and I will meet you there at any time. And so with Mrs. Christopher and Ms. Musson. So we wanted to have an opportunity to show the board the Pendergast Family Resource Center. And what happens is that in the spring quarter, our school sites are particularly pressed. And so their preference is to not host a board meeting and a large community event during that state testing time. And so the Pendergast Family Resource Center hosting is a perfect opportunity for us to showcase that space. So that's why we are requesting to have the meeting there. But really, anytime, y'all, I can ride my bike there. So I am happy to meet you at any time over at the PFRC.
We have
a
a motion
motion,
and a second, right? Okay, geez Louise. All right, any further discussion or questions? Carrie, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Yes.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Sarin,
Yes.
Martin Quezada,
Yes.
and Jet White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. Are there any other items people would like added to future board agendas? Great. All right, our next meeting will be next week, June 14th at 5 o'clock. And I have a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting of June 7th, 2022.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Carrie, roll call, please.
Jose Arenas,
Yes.
Hilda Ortega Rosales,
Yes.
Susan Sarin,
Yes.
Martin Quezada,
Yes.
and Jet White.
Yes.
There being 5 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you, Carrie. Have a great night, everyone.